Having created the necessary portfolio of streets, I'll now use the multi-route tool, taking care that I've selected City Street 1 to designate the boundary of the parcel within which we'll work, creating a parcel with 1,320 feet on each side. You'll notice that when I fuse the streets together, it creates our larger parcel, which has a land use designation of semi-detached or detached housing. I will then use the multi-route tool once again to subdivide this parcel further into a more typical urban form. Using the route tool once more, I'll subdivide these two blocks and use the selection tool to select this street, delete it, which will fuse these two smaller blocks together. Select it, and we'll go ahead and create a park by assigning it an open space value and a park subvalue. We'll also go ahead and get rid of perimeter objects, set the tree setback down to just 10, and we're going to go ahead and bump the tree density up to 40. Now that we've created the park, we can modify the single family blocks around that park. I'll start by selecting this single family block, adjusting the housing density to 4 units per acre. I'll have you notice that there's quite a bit of modification that you can make to the semi-detached or detached land use designation. That's true for all of these, which we'll see in a bit. Once we've got it set to 4 dwelling units per acre, we can make some visual modifications by showing perimeter objects and using some of the simple housing models that I've imported from SketchUp as DFX models, adjusting the setback to 40 feet. Our next task is to use the selection tool to select these blocks and transform them into parking areas. So we'll give them an open space designation with a car park sub-designation and change the color to a custom color. And then we'll go ahead and turn off the interior objects for all of these blocks. Essentially, this creates a parking lot framework in which we can put our building footprints. Alright, having selected the boundary tool, I'm now going to use my snap settings and draw a shopping center of approximately 250 by 200 feet. I'll then select that footprint, assign it a value of building, and a number of stories as 3. I'll use the route tool to add parking entrances for the parking lot, snapping again to the street. And we'll use the route selection tool to delete that segment of road. Finally, I'll use the boundary tool to create a green buffer between the parking lot and the road. We'll go ahead and select that strip of land and give that an assignment of managed green area, and select the default color, which we can edit in the preferences. If we look at managed green area right here, we'll change that to a dark green color. Click OK. In these two smaller blocks here, we can select both of them together and give them an assignment of perimeter mixed use, which is essentially a block that runs the entire perimeter of the street. And we'll select each of these blocks and assign a setback of 10 feet on each side. We will now go into a perspective view so you can see some of the changes we've made. We'll go ahead and select each of these blocks and make them a 4-story building. And then we'll go ahead and modify their land use. Selecting the block, you can then use the Floors and Subdivision menu to select each floor and assign them a use. We'll assign the bottom use of this place for restaurants and cafes, with the upper 3 units as residential. And once this assignment is done, we can go ahead and do this for the building across the street. Once the changes by floor have been made, we can go ahead and modify the depth of the building to 70 feet. We'll do this for both. And we'll go back to the plan view in order to create parking entrances here and here. Using the route tool, I'm going to go ahead and again select parking entrance, find the center of the street, and run a parking road into the building itself. And we'll do this for both buildings. Having used the multi-route tool to draw parking entrances for both of these mixed-use blocks, I'm now going to use the boundary route tool to create parking area. This is a pretty simple process of just drawing out some of the lines and selecting the sub area I've just created and designating it as open space car park. And I'll go ahead and add one more parking entrance. And repeat the process for the second building. After completing the parking lots for both mixed-use areas, I'm going to go ahead and use the route tool once more to create another building by selecting the boundary route tool. Selecting the building footprint I've just created, assigning it the building categorization and giving it a height of 5. Additionally, I'm going to place a smaller building in the south of the lot. And again, I will select the footprint, assign it a building categorization of just 1 story, and a use of eating establishment, so restaurant and cafe. We'll pan to the perspective view to assign use types to this building. Having assigned a use type for each floor, the final step is to use the route tool once again, selecting the parking entrance and adding parking entrances for both sides of the parking lot. One final scenario planning item is the addition of city items. Using the city item tool, you can customize your model and give it a little bit of realism. We're going to go ahead and place some items quickly. We're going to place a bus, as well as a transit station. Before using the city item tool to place the transit station, we'll make a quick pad for it to sit on using the route tool and the boundary route. We'll select that pad and turn it into open space and hard landscaping. And then we'll grab the city item tool and place the transit station next to our city item bus. If additional realism is desired, it is possible to move into the model even further and add things like people. As well as other items which are designed in Google SketchUp. You can see I have quite a few that I've created here. These do not come preloaded. However, they are quite easy to create, and adding them is really quite easy.